I'm coming to your country, not as a visitor, not as a stranger, but as a man whose heart has been pulled across borders by a woman he can no longer love. From afar, I'm coming to the land where your footsteps live, where your silence breathes, where your laughter hides between the moments I was never there to witness. I've crossed oceans in my mind 1,000 times, imagining the streets you walk, the air you breathe, the sky you look at. When you're lost in thought, tonight I decided I will no longer imagine. I will arrive. Every mile between us has been heavy. Every distance, a quiet ache. Every night, a reminder that love cannot survive forever. Behind screens, behind borders, behind the safety of words. So I'm coming, with a heart brave enough to finally stand before you, with hands ready to hold what they have longed for, with eyes that have tired of loving you through memories instead of moments. I'm coming to your country to see the truth, to see if your smile feels different in real light, to see if your eyes still soften at my name, to see if destiny has been calling us both, or only me, and if your heart still beats the way mine does, I will know, and if it doesn't, I will still be grateful that I finally walked the road my soul has been begging for. I'm coming to your country, not with grand promises, not with loud declarations, but with a quiet truth that has lived inside me longer than I ever admitted. I'm coming because love cannot stay caged forever. It needs air. It needs presence. It needs the nearness of the one it aches for. I have imagined your roads, your mornings, your rain, the corners of your city, where you might pause, where you might look up at the sky and think of me without saying so. I've pictured the cafes you pass, the shadows your eyelashes make when the sun touches your face, the soft way you hold your silence when the world is too heavy. And now, I want to see it for myself, not through stories, not through messages, not through the blurry distance between two souls afraid to ask, but unable to let go. I want to hear your voice, without delay, without signal, without distance swallowing the softness in it. I want to watch your smile unfold in real time, want to stand close enough to feel your presence, instead of imagining it like a half-remembered dream. So I'm coming, with hope in my chest, with truth in my breath, with the quiet courage of a man who finally understands that some love is worth crossing worlds for. If your heart still carries my name, even faintly, even quietly, even hidden beneath seasons of doubt, I will know the moment I see your eyes. And if they turn away, I will still be glad I came, because loving you deserved to be lived, not guessed. I'm coming to your country with a heart that has learned the cost of distance, the weight of longing, the silence of nights, where your name was the only thing that kept me awake. I'm coming because love should not live only in imagination. It should breathe. It should stand close. It should meet the eyes it was created for. I've spent years loving your reflection in words, loving your presence in dreams, loving the idea of you in quiet corners of my heart where no one ever looked. But now I want the truth of your footsteps, the truth of your nearness, the truth of whether your heart still keeps pace with mine. I want to walk the streets you walk, to breathe the same air, to stand under the same sky, and finally feel what distance never allowed. I want to see how your eyes search for meaning, how your voice rises When you speak from the heart, how your silence feels. When you stand beside someone who understands you. Because I'm coming to find out if the woman I have loved through miles and months is the same woman whose presence can undo my loneliness with just one look. I'm coming not to claim you, not to demand love, not to rewrite your world, but to stand in front of you and let destiny decide the rest. If you smile when you see me, my journey will be worth it. If you don't, my heart will still be grateful that it finally dared to close the distance it once feared to cross. With a quiet hope that maybe destiny is finally ready to answer the questions our hearts have been carrying for far too long. I've lived my life with strength, with purpose, with calm, but when it comes to you, I become a man who feels too deeply, who waits too silently, who loves too carefully. I want to know if your heart still remembers the way mine leaned toward you, softly, quietly, even on the nights when we barely spoke. I want to stand close enough to feel the truth, not assume it, not imagine it, not hope for it, like a distant dream. I want to hear your heartbeat in the space between us, want to see if your eyes still soften when they meet mine, want to feel the warmth I've only held in memory. I'm coming to your country because love has its own courage, a courage born from longing, a courage built on silence, a courage that travels with nothing but faith. Maybe you moved on. Maybe your heart learned how to heal without me. Maybe your smile belongs to someone else now. And still, I'm coming, not to change your life, not to write a new chapter you don't want, but to give my heart the peace of finally knowing what could have been if distance had not been so cruel. If your eyes still hold my name, I will feel it instantly. If they don't, I will bow to fate with gratitude, because loving you has already been one of the quiet honors of my life. With a heart that has carried you through seasons you never saw, through nights you never felt, through moments you never knew were shaped by your name. I'm coming because some love does not fade. It waits. It waits in the quiet corners of the soul, where time cannot touch it, where distance cannot break it, where silence cannot kill it. I want to see your world, the streets that echo your footsteps, the wind that brushes your hair, the sky that watches you when you close your eyes and forget to be strong. I want to stand where you stand, not as a dream, not as a message on a screen, but as a man who finally understands that love is not meant to live behind borders forever. I'm coming with my truth, a truth shaped by longing, softened by patience, and sharpened by all the nights I whispered your name into empty air. Maybe fate will be kind, maybe it won't, but I'm ready for whatever truth awaits me. In your eyes, if they brighten when they recognize me, I will know that hope was never foolish. If they stay unchanged, I will still honor the journey that brought me to you, because loving you was never a mistake. It was the quiet miracle that taught me how deeply a heart can feel without ever being touched. So I'm coming, not to claim your life, not to rewrite your destiny, but to stand before you, finally, fully, bravely, and give my heart the moment it has traveled a lifetime for. But before my footsteps touch your land, I want you to know one truth, a truth heavier than silence, stronger than distance, and deeper than the oceans that kept us apart. I am not coming to impress you. I am not coming to show power, status, money, or the kind of fame the world keeps whispering about. I am coming because of one reason. You, the woman who waited quietly, who believed without proof, who stayed without promises, who held my name like a prayer, even when everyone around you laughed at your faith. I know your nights were long. I know your heart grew tired. I know there were moments when you thought I would never return, when you felt like a fool for believing in a man who lived oceans away. But listen, your patience was not ignored. Your loyalty did not go unseen. Your tears were counted, and your silence was louder than the noise of the world. I'm coming to your country because destiny doesn't like unfinished stories, because some hearts deserve closure, and some souls deserve a beginning that starts with truth, not excuses. And the truth is simple. I never forgot you, not even for a single day. Your name traveled with me, in airports, in palaces, in meetings, in long lonely nights where my status meant nothing, and your absence meant everything. You think I changed? No. I only hid my emotions, because I was afraid that if I spoke too early, I would lose you too quickly. But I'm done hiding. I'm done being silent. I'm done pretending that I can breathe fine under the weight of all the words I never said to you. When I land in your country, I don't want crowds, cameras, or attention. I just want one thing. A moment with you. A moment where your eyes meet mine, and you finally see the truth that distance tried so hard to bury. Maybe you'll forgive me. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll smile. Maybe you'll break down. Maybe you'll turn away, because the pain of waiting was heavier than the promise of tomorrow. Whatever you choose, I will accept it, because coming to you is not about claiming rights. It's about giving you the respect you always deserved. I want to see you standing in your own world, in your own strength, in your own light, not as a woman waiting for a man, but as a woman who survived time, distance, and disappointment, and still kept a heart soft enough to believe. So when you see me, don't look at me as a prince, or a traveler, or a man with a famous name. Look at me as the man who crossed borders for only one reason: your heart. And when I finally say your name, standing inches away from you, you'll understand why destiny held us apart for so long. Because beautiful reunions require painful separations, and ours is about to begin. But this part of the journey is the one my heart fears the most, because now I'm only hours away from you, hours away from the woman whose name stayed alive in my chest, like a heartbeat that refused to slow down, hours away from the one face my memory protected, even when the world tried to bury it under responsibilities, duties, and expectations. As the plane touches the clouds, I realize something. I am not afraid of the world. I am not afraid of cameras, critics, or the weight of my own name. I am only afraid of this. What if she no longer wants me? What if your heart moved on, while mine stayed stuck in the moment I first said goodbye? What if the pain I caused you was bigger than any apology I could ever bring? But even then, I must come. I owe you truth. I owe you answers. I owe you closure, or a beginning, whatever your soul chooses. When the plane finally lands, my hands tremble, not because of nervousness, but because I am stepping onto a land where your footsteps have walked, where your breaths have lived, where your silence has cried. In the nights I should have been there, every street I pass, I wonder, Has she walked here? Did she look up at this same sky? Did she think of me while the city slept? My security team walks ahead, but my heart walks behind, closer to you than it has been in years. I don't tell anyone why I came. Not the officials. Not the aides. Not the companions. Because this journey belongs to only two people. You and me. As the car drives to your city, I replay every memory. I tried to outrun your shy smile, your trembling voice. When you first said my name, your eyes that carried oceans, deep, calm, and dangerous all at once. Your silence, that spoke more than any poetry I have ever written. The world knows me as a man of power, a man who commands attention, a man who never bends. But you are the only person who ever made me feel like a boy afraid of losing something pure. When I finally reach your street, my heartbeat becomes louder than the entire world outside. I ask the driver to stop. Far from your house. I don't want noise. I don't want attention. I don't want anything that would make this moment less honest. I want to walk to you, step by step, the same way you waited for me, year after year. My footsteps feel heavy on the ground that holds your presence. The closer I get to your door, the more memories begin to rise. The message you sent on a day when you felt betrayed, the tear you hid when you thought I couldn't see, and the heartbreak I caused when silence became my only answer. I stop outside your door. This is the moment I have feared more than all my battles, more than all the storms I've survived. I raise my hand to knock, but I freeze, because this door is not just wood. It is a doorway into your heart, and hearts don't open easily when they've been hurt. Maybe you rebuilt yourself. Maybe you found strength without me. Maybe you learned that you don't need a man who took so long to return. But even if that is true, I respect it, because your healing is more important than my desire. Still, I whisper your name under my breath, softly, as if the wind will carry it to you. For a moment, I imagine you on the other side, breathing, thinking, wondering why the past suddenly returned to stand in front of your future. I close my eyes and let the truth escape me in the quietest voice I have. I'm here, and this time, I am not leaving without giving you the explanation you deserved. Years ago, the wind shifts, the world holds its breath, and just as I gather the courage to knock, the door handle moves, your shadow appears, and in that single heartbeat, the distance of all those years falls to the ground like dust. When the door slowly opened, I forgot every speech I had prepared on the plane, every apology, every explanation, every line of courage suddenly fell silent, because there she was, standing in the doorway, like a truth I had been running from, like a prayer I never deserved, but still received. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, time did not move. The world did not breathe. Even the wind seemed to stop between us. She wasn't the same woman I left years ago. No, she was stronger, calmer, more powerful than any queen I had ever seen. Her silence hit me harder than any words could. I wanted to speak, to say her name, to tell her how every mile I traveled was only a path leading back to her. But my voice broke before my lips opened. She didn't step back. She didn't step forward. She just looked at me like someone who had learned to protect her heart after it had been shattered once. And I knew I had caused that. I whispered, "I'm here." My voice barely existed, but she still heard it. Her eyes softened, not with love, not with anger, but with a tired kind of truth, a truth that said, "You came late. You came after the damage. You came after I learned to live without you." But still, she didn't close the door. I took one step forward. She didn't stop me. I took another. She still didn't move. My heart dared to hope. I said her name, slowly, gently, as if the whole world was made of her syllables. She looked down, as if my voice was a memory she wasn't ready to face. I wanted to tell her everything. Why I left. Why I stayed silent. Why I came back now. But instead, I said the only words my heart trusted. "I didn't come here to ask you to choose me. I came to give you the closure you deserved. And if your heart still has space, even one corner, I will wait for as long as it takes." Her fingers tightened on the edge of the door. She swallowed slowly, as if a war was happening inside her. Then she finally spoke. Her first words to me, after all these years. Her voice was steady, but her eyes trembled. She asked, "Why now?" Of all the questions in the world, this was the one I feared the most. I took a breath that felt like lifting mountains. "Because every path I walked led back to you. Because no victory mattered when you weren't there. Because I learned that a man can have everything, power, fame, respect, and still feel empty if he loses the one heart that made him human." She blinked, and for a moment, her walls cracked. Just a little, just enough to show that the woman inside still remembered the man I once was. But she wasn't ready to let me in. Not yet. She stepped aside, just slightly, and said, "You can come inside, only to talk. Not to stay, not to return, not to love, just to talk." But even that was more than I deserved. I nodded. "I will only say what you want to hear. And when you ask me to leave, I will go." As I walked inside her home, I felt the weight of years pressing on my shoulders. Years of silence, misunderstanding, distance, and regret. Her living room smelled like warm tea and old memories. A quiet place, a gentle place, a place that felt like her. She sat across from me, not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could smell the jasmine in her hair. She folded her hands and waited. No accusations, no anger, no tears, just truth. So I began. I told her everything. Where I went, why I disappeared, what battles I fought, what promises I failed, what wounds I carried, what loneliness I hid. And through it all, she listened, like a storm that learned how to stay calm. But when I said, "You are the only person I wanted to come back to," her breath caught in her chest. That's when I realized she hadn't forgotten me. She had only forced herself to move on. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "You broke me once. I can't risk being broken again." My heart cracked in the exact place I had once broken hers. I leaned forward and said in the softest voice I had ever used, "I didn't come to break you. I came to heal what I destroyed. Even if I never earn you back, I want to return the pieces I took from you." Her eyes shimmered with a truth she was trying to hide. And in that moment, I knew her heart wasn't closed. It was just scared, terrified, bruised, guarded, but not gone. I whispered, "If you give me even one chance, not to love you, but to prove myself worthy, I will fight for the rest of my life." The room fell silent as she looked at me, not as the man I once was, not as the mistake I made, but as the man who finally returned to correct the story. She didn't answer, not yet, but she didn't ask me to leave either. And sometimes, silence is the first step toward forgiveness. And when someone lets their tears fall in front of you, it means their heart is remembering you, even if their mind is resisting. I didn't touch her. I didn't move closer. I simply said, "Let me earn your trust. Slowly, gently, patiently, even if it takes my whole lifetime." She closed her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't look like a woman protecting herself. She looked like a woman who wanted to believe again, but was scared of the cost. When she opened them, she whispered, "I don't forgive you, but I don't hate you anymore." Her words were small, but they were the door. She didn't realize she had just opened, and that was enough. More than enough. Because forgiveness always begins exactly like this, with a heart that stops pushing you away. She didn't forgive me. Not yet. But the way she looked at me now was different. Less guarded, less distant, as if her heart was slowly unlocking a window. Even if the door was still closed, she stood up and walked to the window, her back toward me, her silence heavy, but no longer cold. "I learned to live without you," she said softly, "but I never learned how to forget you." Her words hit me harder than any confession of love could, because forgetting is harder than leaving, and she had done neither. I rose from my seat, but kept my distance. "I didn't come to ask you to forget the pain. I came to help you heal it, even if I never get a single piece of your love back." She turned slightly, just enough for me to see the shimmer in her eyes. "You say that now," she whispered, "but men change. Promises fade. Hearts get tired." I shook my head slowly. "No, my heart didn't get tired. It just took too long to understand where it belonged." Her breathing changed, as if the truth was touching a place she had protected for years. I took one small step closer, slow, respectful, as if every inch of space between us was sacred ground. "If you let me stay," I said quietly, "I won't rush your heart. I won't push your walls. I won't demand softness you're not ready to give." Her gaze dropped to the floor, like a woman who had spent years being strong and was suddenly tired of carrying the weight alone. Then she whispered words that shifted everything. "You can stay. For now. Not forever. Not always. Not as her love, but as someone she was willing to let back into her world." And that was the miracle I had prayed for. In silence, I nodded gently. "I'll earn every tomorrow you allow me." She didn't smile. Not fully. But her lips softened, and her eyes lowered, in a way that told me her heart was no longer shutting me out. For the first time since I returned, the distance between us felt like a beginning. A fragile one. A trembling one. But a beginning. Nonetheless. She walked past me, her shoulder brushing mine. For just a second. A brief, accidental touch that felt like forgiveness. in its earliest form. And in that tiny moment, I realized something. A love lost in time doesn't return loudly. It returns quietly, in small steps, soft glances, half-open doors, and whispered chances. Sometimes, the heart doesn't restart with fire. It restarts with a breath. And tonight, for the first time, she allowed herself to breathe near me again. That night, she sat across from me, with a quietness that wasn't distance anymore. It was confusion. It was remembrance. It was the soft ache of a heart trying to decide whether to open again or close forever. She held her cup with trembling fingers, as if holding warmth after years of cold. I watched her carefully, not to read her mind, but to protect the moment. A moment so fragile that even a wrong breath could break it. She finally spoke. Her voice was small, but it carried years of unanswered questions. "Do you know how long I waited for you?" I swallowed the guilt that rose in my throat. "No," I whispered. "I don't. But if you tell me, I will carry your truth for the rest of my life." She looked down, her eyelashes trembling like wings of a wounded bird. "There were nights," she said softly, "when I believed you had forgotten me. But my heart wouldn't listen." She laughed bitterly, a sound that wasn't laughter at all. "I hated myself for hoping." I shook my head slowly. "Hope is not weakness. Hope is the last thing a broken heart lets go of." Her eyes glistened with a memory she didn't dare to relive. "I tried to hate you," she whispered. "I really tried. But every time I did, I remembered who you were before you left." Her voice cracked. A tiny fracture, a silent wound. "And that man," she continued, "that man was impossible to hate." I closed my eyes for a moment, not to hide my pain, but to control it. "I am still that man," I said gently. "Just wiser, just slower, just broken enough to value what I once lost." She didn't respond, but her silence no longer felt like rejection. It felt like hesitation, a hesitation that comes from caring. I leaned forward slightly, my voice low, my words careful. "You don't have to love me again. You don't even have to forgive me yet. Just don't push me away for something I'm ready to spend my life repairing." Her lips parted, just a little, as if her heart wanted to speak, but her fear held it back. Then she whispered the words that told me everything was changing. "I don't trust you, but I want to." My breath caught, my soul froze, because wanting to trust is the first real step toward letting someone back in. I nodded softly. "I will protect that want, as if it is the last thing keeping me alive." Her eyes finally met mine, not with anger, not with pain, but with a softness that felt like the beginning of a long, slow sunrise. And in that fragile moment, I realized her heart didn't know how to hate me forever. It only knew how to heal slowly, and I was ready to match every slow step with patience, with truth, and with a love that had finally learned how to stay. That night felt different, as if the air itself was holding its breath, waiting for something soft and impossible to happen between us. She stood near the window, arms folded, eyes lost somewhere between memory and doubt. The moonlight touched her hair like a blessing she didn't know she still deserved. I watched her quietly, not with desire, not with impatience, but with a gentleness only a man learns. After losing the woman he was meant to protect, she spoke without turning. "Do you know why it scares me to trust you?" Her question felt like the unlocking of a hidden door. I stepped closer, not too close, just close enough to hear the truth trembling in her breath. "Because trusting you again," she said slowly, "means reopening the wound I spent years trying to close." Her voice cracked on the last word. I inhaled deeply, not because I was hurt, but because I finally understood the weight she had been carrying. "I won't reopen anything," I whispered. "I came to heal what I destroyed." She finally turned her face, half lit by moonlight, half shadowed by fear. "You say that now," she whispered, "but love is a promise. Men forget too easily." I shook my head. "Not this man. Not this love. Not anymore." Her eyes softened. Not fully, but enough for me to see the heart behind them, beginning to breathe again. "You left me with silence," she said, a tear gathering slowly at the corner of her eye. "And the silence was louder than your goodbye." I swallowed. "Then let me fill that silence with honesty, with patience, with a presence that will never disappear again." The tear fell, not because she forgave me, but because her heart was tired of holding itself together. I moved one step closer, slow, careful, a man walking barefoot across his own regrets. "I won't touch you unless you ask," I whispered, "and I won't leave, even if you push me away." Her breath shivered. Then, for the first time, she didn't hide her tears. She let them fall, quiet and uncontrolled, like truth finally escaping. After years of being trapped, she didn't come to me. She didn't ask for comfort, but she didn't turn away either. And in that moment, her silence became a confession. Her tears became forgiveness in its earliest form. Her trembling breath became the answer. She couldn't say aloud. She wasn't ready to love me again, but she was no longer trying to unlove me. And sometimes, that is the moment a heart truly returns, not with words, not with promises, but with tears that finally trust your presence.